Well, today should be a fun one. I guess we have the new wheels and tires on the old girl. Man, it's looking good, eh? But unfortunately, we're stripping this thing all apart. I've decided, I don't have any of the parts yet, but I got to go get them in a couple of days. Man, this thing looks cool. Anyway, so I have to go down to the border, other side of the border, across the border, go to the warehouse, get transmission, all the EFI stuff, fuel tank, exhaust, odds and ends. I got a whole schwackload of stuff coming here. But in the meantime, I thought we'd strip this thing down. Now, I'm putting, again, so this, in case you're new here, this is a 55 Chevy Nomad, and it has a small block in it, aluminum headed dealie, nothing too crazy. I got a turbo 350 trans and a stock rear end, and we're gonna keep the motor, but we're gonna go fuel injected, and we're gonna put a 5-speed in it, and we're gonna change the rear end. The rear end's been ordered, it's gonna be a little longer to get, but motor trans, I figured instead of trying to screw around with it in the car, I'll yoink this thing out, take the motor trans apart, then we can set the transmission, the bell housing, all that, the clutch. It's gonna be a whole ordeal. It'd be much easier to do just out of the car. And then slide it all in. And at that point, this thing's been apart so many times, to take the whole front clip off, blow that off, take the motor trans out, we're good. Then I can just nut and bolt check everything, clean everything up real good. If there's any overspray, I can clean it up. There was a few things I didn't enjoy. I put these tubular control arms on, and some of the lower bolts actually that came with the kit, I torqued them up and one pulled the threads out. I was not a big fan of that, so I think we're gonna take all that apart, go buy some like proper grade 8 hardware from the store, put all that in, double check the front end. I think I want to lose the power brakes. I originally was building this car to sell it and make some money on it. Clearly, as you can tell now, she's mine. I think I'm going to own it for a while. It's got a bit of a camshaft in it, and I don't really want power brakes, so I think I might just eliminate that, just run the single, or the dual pot master, no power. And I mean, I got to move this stuff. It's right close to the exhaust with the fender well. So there's a few things I don't really like. Up front here, well, this will be a while down the road, but this was actually a really nice radiator I bought. It's a Performance World unit, and it's great. I haven't run it, but it's cool. My buddy Josh has one in his car, and it ran fantastic. But I'm obsessed. I'm going down south. That's where we want to drive this thing. We want to do like Route 66, Power Tour, Pacific Coast Highway, all sorts of stuff. I want to do like Death Valley, all sorts of stuff. Now, whether I take this car or not, I'm not too sure. I got a few I'm working on to do long hauls with, because as I've gotten older and I've worked on cars and done all, I'm growing out of the, stoplight to stoplight, and cruising around seeing the world, or the Americas, in an old hot rod is now top of my list. Long story short, cooling is the top thing that drives me nuts. If something else breaks, you can fix it, but if you're overheating, there's not a whole lot you can do. So this radiator is probably just fine for your average everything, but I'm going to put the biggest radiator I can possibly fit in this thing, and we'll probably have to redesign the core support, cut out some of the belly pan, and a bunch of screwing around. But we'll have a ginormous radiator with dual fans on it, and just overkill. That's what I did last year before we did a power tour, and the car ran great, and it was hot as hell in an LS. So this little small block probably run cooler anyways, but that's all coming up. So today though, we got to push back, which can mean one thing: we're pulling the engine crane out. So I'm going to start disassembling this, pulling the radiator, all that out, drain the fluids, disconnecting what I can do. We might at least leave the hood on, actually. The hood bolts to the firewall in these Tri-5s. Take the whole front apron apart. I think we could probably just take the inner and outer fender off together. I don't know how much I got this all bolted together, but we'll play with it. Be nice to take it all apart. I might even just do that first, then I can work on the motor afterwards. And, get another couple bolts on the transmission, undo the drive shaft, and pop this thing out. So I think you guys will be on the tripod a lot today. All right. So I pulled the headlights. All this thing had for wiring in the front was the headlights, and I just kind of threw it back. We've drained the radiator. So start taking this apart. Of course, we're using it as a workbench, because why wouldn't you? Oh yeah, stupid radiator. So, whoa. You know what? We'll just kind of make a mess here and deal with it later. Sweep it up into the pile. Well, that was kind of weird. Yeah, so we'll get going on this. I have learned a few lessons while I'm taking this thing apart. Figure I'd spread my wisdom. You know, the more I work on things and redo things, and I feel like there's been a lot of redos lately on the channel. Oh, went right in the carburetor. That's awesome. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't talk and wrench at the same time, eh? But I've learned a lot. You know, that 56 wagon I originally bought, it was going to be our power tour cruiser, the big block 700, and then put that motor in something else just for fun. I should probably put air filters on things. And then I put in the Nova, the 4-speed. And then it had a small block in it, and then I was like, oh, let's take it on power tour, we'll put an LS in it. And I did all that. How's this go? And then now last minute, we're doing this. And when I bought this car, it was like, oh yeah, it'll be fun to have a Nomad. It popped up. That's something I've never really had the opportunity to buy before, so how could you possibly pass it up, am I right? That's not it's 9/16. Yeah, we'll 14 it, see what happens. So originally, I got stuck in the mindset of, it's a Nomad, I have to make it, you know, perfect, quote unquote perfect, or as perfect as I can afford to do. Because the car had so much value to it. And I went down that rabbit hole and realized, that's not what I want. I don't want a show car. I can appreciate people, I'm sure a lot of you guys have really nice, gorgeous cars with paint and all that stuff. That is just not my deal. So I kind of came to the realization, I was like, you know what? I gave up on this car because it wasn't fun. And then I was like, okay, let's turn it into what I wanted, which is, you know, a ratty hot rod. Everything in my life is a ratty hot rod. And I will say, I have a couple of nice cars that have paint on them and have had. And those cars I've enjoyed the least, I've driven the least, they've sat the most, and what's the point in having it? So then we started doing this. I was like, oh, you know what? I had the small block in, it was kind of banging around, should be a fun time, and go from there. Whoops. And then I realized, well, my buddy Mike Cotton told me, you know, that wagon's cool, but it's not Nomad cool. If you're gonna be driving around, everyone's doing a wagon. And I was like, shit, he's right. So then we went to like the third iteration after I spent, well, we did LS motor, overdrive transmission, the Holly Terminator, the whole fuel system. That 56 wagon, 4-door wagon, is ready to go. And literally needed, I don't know, 2 weeks more work and it would have been highway ready. And I'm like, doop, off the docket, let's work on this and start again and spend all that money all over again. So I kind of wanted to say, I guess maybe do it right the first time or have a plan. That's just not my style. So we're gonna keep winging it. I think it's gonna turn out great. Hopefully I don't take it all apart and lose interest again. I'm kind of committed at this point, the parts are coming. The Visa card has been cleared. There's no real way around it. So I think there's only a few bolts holding this together. I should be able to pull the grill out, splash pan, fenders come up on their own, leave the hood on that I can tackle in the exhaust and all that. So enjoy that. Man, basically ready to go racing now. All that weight we cut off. I'm gonna go throw this in the garbage real quick. Where can I stand this up? Here through the door? I need a helper that works for free or somehow pays me a government job. Well, there we have it. A little bit of a hassle dragging that front clip out all by myself, but Murder is coming back. My old man's gonna be around so he can get all these crappy tasks done. It was missing a bunch of bolts actually, so it came off real easy. And mental note, put those bolts in that didn't exist. So this is what we're working with now. This I had wire wheeled down to bare metal, then I used like POR or something like that all over the whole thing, and then of course it got primer and stuff on it. So again, in the wrong way to build a car was this. The motor, I should be able to kind of clean all up with some paint thinner, maybe just get another coat of paint, or whatever I have to do. These are the tubular control arms I'm talking about. Again, they were brand new and they got paint all over them and stuff. I'm finding out if I want to put big springs in it. In my 55 Chevy, my two-door sedan, I put in like big block springs out of like a 409 car, like a Impala or Biscayne type thing, like a 60, whatever that is, 234. And it lifts it up. It doesn't put it right at the bunt stops, but it's very close. So it gives that like kind of nose high look, even though it's just stock front end. Everyone keeps saying, I was working on Danny's car, that unless it has a straight axle, it's not a gasser. It's actually not really the case. The early gassers just had regular, kind of front suspension and stuff. But I just like the look, the nose high look. We'll call it that, so I don't offend all the aficionados who clearly know more than I do. But yeah, look at all this primer I got on that. Maybe a guy should have masked it all up in here. I mean, everything was all painted really nice. And then DD Speed Shop. So we should be able to pull the headers off, just unbolt them from the motor, hang those off to the side. Fuel line, motor mount bolts, very simple. I'll probably pull a distributor just because when you tilt the motor, it'll crack into the firewall. Disconnect oil pressure, a little bit of wiring. I don't know if I even hooked it up on this thing. Doesn't really look like it. So we'll disconnect that in a hurry. And then I'll have to scoot under, disconnect the transmission mount. Or I might be able to leave the whole cross member in, just undo the transmission and pop it right out. We'll see. And then realistically, it's kind of out. We might do a little detailing, do something like that, but it should be fairly simple. So we'll set the camera up. There's a lot of screwing around though. Like headers aren't going to come out until the brake lines are off and all sorts of ugliness. But I did go the hoods up. Tri-Fi, why'd they get away from this? It says, oh, it's heavy. It's very convenient. Well, as it turns out, it's the next day. I took a bunch of stuff off the motor. I figured, you know what? We'll get through all the nitty gritty. So this thing's pretty much ready to go. Transmission's just sitting on the mount, but nothing's bolted. We have the nuts off the motor mount bolts. Realistically, I think we just gotta undo maybe throttle linkage and like a wire or two. We'll see. We'll see what pulls. Gotta put a carb plate on it so I can yoink it. But before we do that, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. So I ordered a set of headers because I thought these were leaking. Well, as it turns out, all the bolts on this side were loose. So maybe before you order parts, a little nut and bolt check doesn't hurt. So we might use these ones, we might not. I'm not really too sure. You can never really have too many Tri-5 fender well headers in stock at all times, as far as I'm concerned. So this is what was really driving me nuts about this car, and I did it to myself, but the amount of overspray on just everything I accomplished there. Meanwhile, this was all brand new and painted and nice, and it just, I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to just getting stuff done at speed. I didn't take the time to mask it all properly. Now, at this point, the motor trans out, we can clean that all off, repaint everything, because now everything fits. So we can scuff it all, repaint it, because I think it's just like, so that POR, whatever you call it. But I don't think it has any UV protection, so I think you gotta paint over it. I don't know if I did that or not, but scuff it, fire it black, will be good. This has gone through one winter outside, just sitting there. And that's usually if there's some moisture in it, it'll crack and screw the paint up, but it didn't, so it's obviously adhered good. We have a good base. I ordered new springs. So these are factory Tri-5 ones. Now, bear with me. We have a fair bit of room there in the bump stop, and these are big bump stops, we can change those to go up. Now, I like the nose high look. I just do. You're not convinced me otherwise. Couple of things. These are the tires that were on the thing. Those are 28 inches tall. They are ridiculous. I think you can get a 27, but a 26 is the real common size. So if we put a 26-inch tire on here, we're gonna drop the car 1 inch, 1 inch top and bottom. Those 28s are fine, but they did rub against that header right there. So we may be able to lift the car up, keep the 28s and not rub, or we're going down a tire size. So there's that. Another thing to bear in mind, I want to put a huge honking radiator in this thing, which won't be, a huge difference, but it's more weight up front. And again, we're ahead of the axle. I'm also really fighting out air conditioning. They sell all sorts of just, universal under dash kits. And so we'd have to have some sort of a compressor and a condenser and all that up front, which doesn't weigh nothing. So again, it's just more and more weight. And what I learned last year, especially doing, this is more of a rear thing, but doing road trip and stuff, you have a bunch of stuff in the hot rod. So if it sits good empty, it's gonna be something else when it's all full. So there you go. Otherwise, I don't know a whole lot about this motor. I had the oil pan off. I assume it was a 4-bolt main, so I had to modify the oil pan. You can see that little jut out there to clear the cross members. It's got a big pan on it. And based on the amount of silicone that's around here, I probably didn't change the oil pan gasket. So I'm gonna order a 1-piece because those are always good. Just give it a double check. Everything was so clean at one point. The motor was clean, like everything was just nice. And I DD speed chopped the hell out of it. So I want the motor on this thing to just look like a shining jewel. And the fact now there's no paint work to be done, there's no grinding or welding or any of that stuff. If we clean it all up, spend a bunch of time over the next couple of videos, this will look very nice until I drive in wintertime. But until then, it'll look fantastic. So those are the plans. I don't think I missed anything. I'm gonna get in there with a floor jack, take it off the transmission, lower it down a little bit. We'll hook the old engine crane up. Next time you see this thing, we'll be yarding it out. And then see what we ended up with. We're in full reverse mode right now, but progress is progress. It's backwards.
Why is it so cold in here? Can't we afford heat?
It's winter. So Danny's out in the garage, and she's using her 18 hours of garage time a month. So this is part of it. Ladies in the garage, right? So this should come out easily. I think I've gone through everything. This motor's been in and out. Yeah, it should. I found a massive vacuum leak actually, so that's probably why I think never really ran as good as I was hoping. But let's see what happens here.
You just really love building a car to take it apart again, don't you?
It's kind of like Legos. You gotta put it together and take it apart, put it together, take it apart. The best part is, Murr's coming home right away, so you're almost out of this duty for like 6 months.
Yes.
This will be Murr's job, screwing around doing this.
Well, that's the real problem. The only reason I'm in the garage is because Murr's not around.
Murr's a real hassle.
So everyone can blame Mur for allowing this woman in here.
The viewership is down, subscribers are down. Just without Mur.
We're gonna lose the shop.
He's really tying her together. So.
More thrusting.
What's it caught on? I thought I had everything. Oh, I don't know what's caught on. More pumping and more pulling as far as I'm concerned. And there's so many new parts in this thing that we're just gonna take right off. It cracks me up. Just brand new transmission, brand new starter.
What's the definition of insanity?
Oh, I don't know, but I think I'm living it. Try and make money on YouTube building hot rods? Insanity. Well, I guess trying to make money building hot rods in general. This thing has been apart and together so many freaking times. But I am excited just because the fact that this thing has been so freaking far apart, left for dead, complete junk. Now it's actually gonna be a reasonable car that we can go cruising with. Hopefully we'll make it an hour out of town before it completely implodes.
It'd be nice if we at least made it to the States, because then we can go to O'Reilly's.
O'Reilly's, and people can help. We can be like SOS.
Yeah.
Here, I think people want us to fail on purpose. you know? Like, speed shop, screw that guy.
We hate him.
In the States, people are so nice to us. You can pull into a nice truck stop, get a fountain Dr. Pepper.
Oh my gosh, and a styrofoam cup and plastic straws.
There's parts stores everywhere. Get a shower over there, just life's good. I'm hoping we make it all the way down. I gotta pull this back more. Southern Carolina.
For your cheer wine.
I heard about cheer wine, so if you know about that, you let me know. And then there's like cheer wine floats. So honestly, it's not a success until this thing pulls us into a restaurant. We can get a terrible burger.
And cheer wine.
And cheer wine. If we break down there, I don't even care.
I would like an old-fashioned soda.
So there we go, this thing's all apart. Again, what drives me nuts, this was so clean and all freshly painted and all nice, and then just body shop dust everywhere. So hopefully we get some nice weather. I'd like to pull this thing outside, maybe hit it with the hose, but the next 10 days are still below freezing. Like, it's bad.
Like -20.
Celsius, but yeah. Oh, it's a hassle. So, I think that's where we're leaving this video. Up next, clean all this junk up, make it look pretty, maybe give it a repaint, give it a hose down. Like, as I said, there's no repainting or no welding or grinding to be done, so it should be good. And then motor, you know what's funny about, so this transmission, this is like a rebuilt Turbo 350. For a while there, it's like I couldn't find Turbo 350s. Now we have, this one's gonna be spare. The one that was in Danny's car, which is a built with a high stall, spare, just like this one. Then I have a stock rebuilt one in the C-Can, brand new, spare, and I bought one from a guy for like $75, which is all complete bone stock, and he said was good. So we went from having 0 to now, ultimately we're gonna ruin one because it'll probably get stored outside. It's funny how the world goes, eh? So as far as I'm concerned, we need 4 cars. Actually, we need 4 motors because we have the transmissions and we have the cars, we just don't have motors. But that's it for me for today. There you go, things all apart. If you didn't get it by this point, these tires were just a gag. It's just for fun, funsies. But that's it, that's all. Next video will be coming up right away. Thanks for watching, comment below. We love the comments. Love every last one of them. And yeah, big things coming on this thing, I'm excited. Bye.